Here, just waiting for that connection to establish and the audio to go through. Once I hear that, we are good to go. Looks like we already got somebody in the chat. Awesome. Let's go ahead and make sure we got audio here. All right. Hello to, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but hello. Just making sure the audio works here. If you guys do hear the audio, go ahead and let me know in the chat. Yep, looks like the audio is working. All right, we should be good to go at this point, guys. I'm going to go ahead and start the live stream. All right, so for those of you who are just joining, welcome back to another live stream. This is going to be an exciting one. We are going to go ahead and talk about this particle push animation. This is a really fun one. I'm really excited to kind of go over how this works. Yeah, this is going to be a cool one. So let me go ahead and get a sip of coffee, and then I'll show you guys how this works. All right, thank you guys for your patience. And again, welcome back to another live stream with Kenny Phases / CG Cookie. So this is a cool one. So I'm going to show you guys real quick, just before we get started here, how I was able to come up with this idea, and then how I was able to kind of make it happen using some research and some reused nodes from some other tutorials. So let me go ahead and pause this real quick, and I want to show you how I came up with this idea. So this is a website called the Mensa Foundation. I was on this website and I noticed they have this really cool simulation going on here where you can kind of play around with this 3D model of a brain. And I saw this and I was immediately like, this has got to be possible in Blender, like by pushing nodes out of the way or pushing instances out of the way. And this was just so cool. Had to recreate it. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to the guy that helped me recreate it on the Blender forum here. This right here, I will make sure that I link this in the description, but this guy basically did it right here. Now, I modified it a little bit to my liking, but as you can see, it's kind of like a similar effect right here. Again, mine's a little bit different. There's a few things that I've added, but if you do want the nodes to just this, I'm going to show them on the screen so you guys don't have to like wait too long in the tutorial if you're watching. Let me just zoom out on this. If you're just looking for those nodes, there they are right there. I'm going to leave them on the screen for a second if you want to go ahead and screenshot that. If not, we're going to create all of this from scratch, and I'm going to create kind of my own variation, show you how we can do this with a logo as well. Again, just quick shout out to this guy right here. He went ahead and he solved this problem for us. So I'm going to go ahead and move these back over, and we're going to get started on, hold on one second. We're going to get started on the tutorial. Thank you guys so much for being so patient. All right, so again, this is basically what's happening here. Let me go ahead and hide this bottom plane. So basically what we have is we had a model of a head that we turned into points, and then we just pushed the points out of the way. So I'm going to show you how we do this from scratch. And then I'll also show you my custom node setup as well, which is going to be a little bit different than the one you see here. So here is my custom node setup. You can see it's a little more complex than the other one. So let's go ahead and start with a completely brand new file, and I'll show you how this works. All right, in a new file, delete everything. Starting completely from scratch, I'm going to add a single vert, in other words, a single vertice. Go back over to Geometry Nodes and create a new setup. Now you can create this with any object you want. It really doesn't matter. So very first thing we need is we need something to make points with. So I'm just going to start out with a grid. It's really the easiest to explain. Now a grid really is just a plane with a bunch of points on it. It's really no different than just like a subdivided plane. But what we want is we want to take this grid and turn it into points so that we have something to actually work with. So I'm going to go ahead and do instance on points. I am going to go ahead and I need something to instance. So I'll do a sphere, UV sphere. I'll go ahead and plug that in, and there we go. Now these are too big, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to reduce the quality because they don't really need to be huge quality here. And that looks about good for right now. We're going to go ahead and change all this stuff later and actually customize it. But for right now, we're good to go. All right, so we have our instance on points. Now, one of the things we need to do is we need to actually figure out the original position of these points so that we can snap them back into their original locations. To do that, we're going to kind of collect that data with a stored name attribute. The type is vector because we want to figure out where they are X, Y, and Z wise. And we're dealing with instances here, so I'm going to select instance. I'm going to call this original POS or position. You can call it whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. And in this case, the value that we're trying to collect is the position of these instances. So this, we're going to refer back to this later. All right, now we need to simulate something. So we need a simulation zone, not an image. simulation zone. There we go. All right, we need a simulation zone. We're going to plug in our geometry to the start of the simulation, and the end is going to go right here. So this whole zone right here, this is where all the magic is going to happen. And you're probably wondering, okay, well, what do we have to change within our simulation? We have to change the set position of our points. And that's because I'll show you right now how this works. If I go ahead and pull my timeline up here, if I press play, nothing happens. But if I set the X to 0.1 and I go back and I press play, notice how they'll move every frame. So every frame, Blender is going to look at that set position and it's going to update it and say, oh, you want to move 0.1 every single frame, right? Same concept, but this time we're going to plug in a position like offset once we calculate everything. So real quick, I'm going to give this a quick save. I'm going to call this CG cookie particle push. Make sure I have that saved. And now we're going to get into the fun stuff. All right, so we have our grid. Now we have to figure out what our original position is going to be. So in order to do that, I'm going to kind of reuse those nodes from before. We're going to go down here and we are going to pull our named attribute. Okay, I'm going to go zoom in here. I'm going to join this, Control J. I'm going to press N to pop out this panel and I'm going to call this original position. Now at this point, again, guys, I'm just doing this for organization purposes. Okay, I named the wrong thing. Hold up, original position. That's fine. All right, you guys can name this whatever you want. So we're going to take the original position here, which is a vector. We're going to look for that original position, which is right here. And then we're going to take the position node, place that right underneath, and we're going to use some vector math. Not vector, vector math. We're going to go ahead and place that in here. This is where it might be hard to follow, but I think you guys will get the point. We're going to subtract the two. So we're going to subtract the original position from the current position. And then this is where we kind of get to adjust some things. This is where it becomes like more of a custom node setup. We're then going to scale that specific result. So we're going to scale it by whatever we want. In this case, I'm just going to pick a value. I'll just do the same value. Oh my God. We'll do the same value that we had in the original example, which I believe was like 0.08, something like that, but we'll adjust that later. We're then going to take that value and we're going to plug it into another vector math node. This time we are going to add the original position, or sorry, the current position. So we're going to add the current position to this now scaled subtracted position. And then this is where the real magic happens, is in the switch node. We are going to plug in our result right here into the true statement, or sorry, in the false in this case, and we'll do a vector. All right, now since this is a vector, that means that it's only going to be dealing with X, Y, and Z, which is why we're going to pass this on into our set position node, but we're not quite there yet. This is super important. In fact, I'm going to join this and I'm going to call this, how about comparison? And it's going to compare where these points are. All right, now comes the fun stuff. All right, and we'll get into the customization later, but the fun stuff is now. So we need an object to affect our points. In this case, we don't have anything yet, so I'll just add in a sphere. It can be anything. It can be a cube, it can be a sphere, it can be a torus, it does not matter. Once we have our sphere right here, I'm going to click and drag it into the node group, right? I have it right here. And we're actually going to go ahead and grab a few things about this. We're going to need to sample the nearest surface. Sample nearest surface. Do not do sample nearest. It needs to be sample nearest surface, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that because we want to sample it twice because we're going to compare it to itself. And this is where it gets kind of complicated. All right, we need the position node. We are sampling the nearest position, okay? But in this case, don't put sample position, use value. I know, kind of tricky because you would think you'd plug it into sample position. That's not the case. Down here, I'm going to join this into a new group and I'm just going to call this check to see if points are near. And that's quite literally what this is going to do. So once we have all these nodes set up, we'll be good to go. All right, so we have the same thing down here, but in this case, we're going to look at the normal. And this is the normal of our sphere. We're going to look at the normal, all right? And then we're going to take that result and subtract this result. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to do vector math, okay? We're going to use the subtract function here. We're going to take the value from right here, and we're going to subtract the position of the object info, which is the sphere in this case. We're then going to take that, and we're going to take the dot product of this result and the nearest sampled of the normal. I know, complicated, but this is what made it work, so that's why we're doing it. All right, now all this stuff down here, well, these two things should be in here. I'm just moving some things around to keep it organized. Okay, all of this stuff, right? The result of this is going to go right into the true socket for the switch. Hopefully you guys are following along. Again, the true socket for the switch, okay? I'm sorry, the switch socket. The true socket is going to be this result right here of sampling the nearest position. Boom. Hopefully everybody got that so far. I know, complicated, but I promise it works. All right, now let's go ahead and plug in the output into the offset. Make sure I got all that right. Sorry, into the position. Yep, cool. All right, we're going to give it a quick save. We're going to press play, and everything looks all wonky. And there is a reason for that. Let's go ahead and scroll down here. I'm going to show you guys what's going on. The object info node needs to be set to relative. Otherwise, it's going to take the original position of it, which was before we scaled it and all that. So now, if I press play, you'll notice we have something that's kind of working here, kind of not, right? It's a little bit glitchy, and I'm going to explain why that is. I'm also going to reset our ending frame to like 60 so we can just play this on a loop. All right, so you'll see that things are kind of moving, but we may or may not be missing a few nodes. So let me double check everything because something clearly is not working correctly. We have our object info, position, normal, good. We have our value here. Let me go ahead and adjust that. All right, things are moving, but they're not quite moving how we want them. And let me find out why that is. Just double checking something here. Vector switch, yep. Yep, subtract, position, original position, scale, add. Looking at my old nodes. Hold on one second, guys. Oh, ha. Okay, so this is another reason why the details are so important. Apologies for this. Sampling nearest, instead of float, we're going to choose vector because, again, we're dealing with a vector component here. That is why it wasn't working. Let's go ahead and restart. Now, you can see that it is sort of working. Again, why isn't it working the way that I want it to? Hold on a second. Let me double check. Let's do 0.0. Let's do 0.05. They are moving, just not in the way that I had hoped. Oh. They're acting a little bit strange. Let me just double check something. We have the original relative as instance. Vector. Position, yep. Subtract, yep. What did I do wrong this time? Real time, guys, real time messing up. I'm just trying to figure out what I messed up here. Double checking everything. We have the original position. Vector instance, original position. Did I spell everything right here? I did. Yep. What is going on here? They are moving, they're just not moving in the fashion that I would like them to. And I'm trying to figure out why that is. Apologies for the inconvenience, guys. That is very strange that it doesn't want to work for me right now. Just let me double check something. Sample nearest surface, yup. Dot product, subtract, yup. There's only one thing I really did different, so I'll just try it because we're going to do this anyway. We're going to scale the actual object itself. It shouldn't change much, but we'll just try it real quick. It's weird. It like is working, but it like isn't working. Let me try. There is one more thing we can try. What in the world? It's funny. It's like working, but not in the way that I had expected. You can see that it is working, though. I'm just not sure why it's not working like the original example. Apologies for this, guys. Super embarrassing on my part. But let me go back to the other code. This is the code. I'll just show it on the screen just in case anyone wants it. This is the original node setup. Let me just like analyze it for a second, make sure I'm not missing anything important. There's a few things we didn't add yet, but that's because I wasn't quite ready to add them. But I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything important. Yep, that's plugged into true. That's plugged into false. Output is plugged into position. double check. I have a comment that I can't read. I'm sorry, I don't know that language. I apologize. I really wish I could read it because I would love to respond. Okay, true, false, yep. The order of these nodes is super important. So if I mess something up, oh, that's not it. If I mess something up though, it makes sense because the order of like if these two get switched, like you get a completely different result. So hold on 1 second on that, guys. Also, if you want to drop a comment, even though this is a complete failure of a tutorial, go for it. I'm just trying to figure out why it's not working the way that it should be. Let me just apply the scale of this. That might help. Why in the world is it doing it like this, though? Double checking. Relative, yep. Scale geometry, we did that. It's May Hindi. Oh, very cool. Oh my god, this is going to drive me crazy. Did I spell everything right? Yeah, I spelled everything right. Well, it does work. Here, let me increase this. All right, I mean, you can see that it works. I don't know why it's not working as well as the other time. Ha! Oh my god, I see why it's not working. I cannot believe this. All right, so no, this is actually this is a really good point because the reason it wasn't working is because I was on the top-down angle here, and so I didn't realize that the sphere itself was barely touching the surface. But if I move it towards the middle now you can see that it is working. Doesn't that just drive you crazy? It was literally not even the nodes. All it was the fact that I was looking at it from the wrong angle, so I didn't realize the sphere was not touching the field. So this is the result you get. As you can see, I'm playing through the timeline, I'm moving the sphere, and I'm absolutely frustrated, but that's okay because this is the kind of lesson that, like, I guess I have to learn for myself to be a better tutorial YouTube guy. All right, so as you can see, this is really fun to mess around with. Now you'll notice they're not quite touching the sphere. The reason for that is because I added this scale elements feature right here, which will scale the original sphere out to create a little barrier. Right now it's at 1.5, I'll try 1.1. You'll notice how it'll update. Notice how they're much closer. So if that's what you're looking for, basically you can decide the exact distance that these are. Now, here's the fun part, because now we can go all the way back to frame 0. We can go back to our grid, and we can say, you know what? Let's make it 5 by 5, and let's make it 100 by 100 particles. Okay. And then let's also change the radius of these to like 0.2. Let's press play, and now we have something that's more like what we saw before. That took me way too long to get through and realize that that was not, the mistake was not in the nodes. And that is totally my fault, guys. I'm so sorry about that. All right, now we're going to do a few other fun things. Now we can actually get into the fun stuff now that I don't feel like a complete moron. Okay, so as you can see, we can brush through everything, and it is super smooth. It looks so nice, and that's because it's updating on every frame, and it looks really nice. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to animate this real quick. I'm just going to keyframe our sphere on the start and the end frame real quick. And the reason I'm doing this is so that we can see our actions being repeated. So if I press play now, you can see what's happening, right? And we'll be able to see this in real time as we update the nodes. And I'm sorry for that that little glitch there. So as you can see, everything gets pushed out and it comes back, but it's very like mathematical and predictable. Let's make it less predictable. And in order to do that, all we got to do is multiply this value by a random number. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Right now, we can just add a math node here. We want to do multiply, and then all we have to do is multiply it by a random value. And I'm going to change the seed every time the scene time updates, which is every frame. I'm going to change the seed like this. So now what's happening is this value is how long it takes the particles to get back to where they were before. And then we're multiplying that by anywhere between 0 and 1. Let's see if it worked. So right now, before this, they would just go back at their own pace. Now you can kind of see they're a little bit more random, right? And if we want to, we can also adjust this multiplier, and we can try like a slower multiplier and see how they're slowly going back now. We can decide how fast they go back. If we want it to be really fast, we can do something like this. If we want it to be super fast, we can do a value like 0.6. Now they're going to snap right back into place very quickly, right? Does everybody notice how that works? So by applying this random number, we can then determine how fast they snap back into place, randomly changing that seed per frame. I do want to see what happens if we don't change the seed per frame. A little different. I think changing the seed per frame makes it look a little bit more natural. All right, let's give that a quick save. So that is our random value right there. And I'm just going to call this randomizer. Easy. If you guys want, you can like organize all this too. Like for example, these two things right here, that's like the object initializer. So I'll just call it object initialize. Actually, sorry, object effector. Okay, cool. And this checks to see if points are nearby. Again, everything should kind of be in the same frame. We can organize all this later, but I want to talk about one thing that we're missing. If you look at this website, which is the example that I got this from, and you look at the brain that they have on the website, see how it's kind of like shuffling around, like it's kind of like idle, but it's like, it's not sitting still. It's like idling, the kind of like fluttering. I'm going to show you guys how we can do that with our particles because now that I have a little bit more experience with geometry nodes, I feel confident enough to show you how that works. And it's actually really simple. So let's go ahead and do it. So as you know, in our simulation, we have a set position node, which changes the position of each individual point. I'm going to duplicate that because I want to change the position again, over and over again, repeatedly, each frame. But I want to change it with a noise texture. Now, I'm going to plug this in and you're going to watch what happens. I'm going to plug it into the offset. Nothing good is going to happen. I want to show you what I mean. I want to show you because it's really important. So when I press play, you'll notice they are idling, but they're not really reacting the way that we want them. And that's because they just go off to one side because they're completely offset. Will this be available later? Yes, it will. It's actually going to be free on my Gumroad page. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this. So as you can see, it kind of pops off in one direction. We are going to actually do another set position, and we're going to reverse this with a vector math node, and we're going to scale it in the negative direction. And we're going to offset it again. So now it's stable in the middle, right? We're kind of like doing the same thing twice, but in reverse. And now it's stable and it's reacting with the forces like it should. However, it's still a little bit too jittery. So let's go ahead and knock the scale down to like 0.5. Let's see what that looks like. But now you can see it's a little bit like it's taking on that noise texture too much. Now, if that's what you're looking for, go for it. Me personally, I'm looking for something a little bit less intense, maybe like 0.05. That looks a little bit better. Let's do 0.02. Let's see how that looks. That's more like it. So now we have these pieces are jittering, right? They're like kind of jittering very softly back and forth. But then as our sphere goes through the simulation, they still get affected, which is super awesome. This is exactly what I wanted. Now we get to really have some fun. So you're probably thinking, well, this is really cool, Kenny, but like, I want to do this with something else. Okay, well, let me show you how to do that. Well, right now, we're just using a simple plane, right, which is super cool. But this can apply to anything. And this is where our good friend menu switch comes into play. Menu switch is not used often in a lot of tutorials, which frustrates me because it's the core of a lot of my products that I sell. Menu switch allows, quite simply, someone to switch through a menu of options. In this case, we're going to use like a mesh. So I'm going to plug in my output of my menu switch into instance on points. And if we play this back, you'll notice there's nothing there because there's no options to choose from. We're going to plug our first mesh, which is our grid, into A. And nothing pops up yet because we need to use our group input to give us an option. So now we have option A and B. For option B, I'll just do a sphere. I'll keep it simple so I can show you guys how this works. So now here's the setup, right? We have a menu switch, we have a grid, and a sphere. Let me show you what happens if I select option B and I go back. Notice how our sphere now pops up and it's populated with points. That's because we chose the sphere and now we're instancing those spheres onto a point. And just like that, look at that. it's interacting with our sphere. Hope you guys can see that. So there's not a lot of points on this, but I can subdivide this mesh. I'll give it 2 subdivisions so you can really see the points. And now you can see that our sphere is pushing through those points of the other sphere. And now you're probably thinking, wait, will this work on any object? Yes, it would work on any object because all you're doing is displacing the points based on some simple math. And if you've gone this far and gotten through this part of the tutorial so far, this is where it gets fun because now we can try different objects. So in this case, do we have a monkey? Can we get the monkey in here? No, we can't. All right, we can't get the monkey inside GeoNodes, but all we have to do is add the monkey to our scene. I'll just push the monkey over here so you can see it. And then this is where the fun part comes. We can do an object info node, right? This can be our third option. Let's see if I can reorganize these a little bit. All right, so our third option is an object info node, but we can have the user select what they want. So I can plug in the object over here. So if I select the geometry option over here, now I can choose any mesh I want. And I'll choose the monkey, and there's the monkey right there. Let me just give it a subdivision. Let's do 2 so you can really see the effect here. I'll hide this. And now you can see that the sphere is now pushing through the mesh. So really, like, this will work with any mesh at all. And now I'm going to show you how to use an SVG logo. In this case, we'll use the Blender logo, and we can like disintegrate the logo. And this is just like, yeah, this is going to be a really fun one. So let me show you this. File, we'll do import SVG because you can download the Blender SVG file from online. Let me just find the file. There it is right there. Is that it? Where did it go? It's somewhere in here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it was kind of hidden. But there's our Blender logo. Let me push it off to the right. So here's our Blender logo right here. We don't need this little sphere, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to start combining shapes with Control J, which is join, as you know. Control J. All right, so this is all one shape here, right? If you go into the object data properties, we can give this like just a little bit of extrusion, like something simple. Right click, convert to mesh. Now, if you look at the mesh data in edit mode, it's not going to be something that we can work with. So we're going to remesh it. So I'm going to go to my modifiers, generate, remesh, smooth. I'm going to uncheck remove disconnected, and we're just going to like remesh this to like level 8. That looks fine. We'll apply it. Now here's the fun part. All we have to do is go back to our GeoNode setup, get rid of Suzanne, select the Blender logo, and I'm also going to scale this up and apply the scale because it'll update in real time. Now, let's just double check. Object, I'm going to do object apply all transforms so it centers itself. And now you'll see that wherever I put this, hold on, let's see, hide that. There it is right there. So now you can see the Blender logo is being affected. If you want it to be scaled up more, there's several ways that there's actually a lot of ways you can do this. One of the main ways is within the nodes, but if you just go to the actual logo itself, you can scale it up a bunch, object apply scale, hide it, and go back to frame 1. And there it is right there. You just need to make sure it lines up with where the sphere is going to interact. There we go. All right, so now you can see that we are affecting our logo. And what's really cool about this is like, I can scale the sphere up and it'll still work. Let me try that. I don't know if it's, well, I keyframed it. So actually here, let's do this. Let's scale it up a bunch. And let's watch it scale back down. Ha, that's actually a pretty cool effect. Now here's what's really fun is if you hide the sphere, you can kind of get this like result without the sphere too. This one's a little intense. Like you probably would want to maybe make the sphere smaller, but either way, like it does work. Here, let me do this. My favorite thing to do though is just play this in real time and mess around with it. So the way you can do this is you just get rid of your keyframes, you grab your object, and while you're playing your animation, you press G to move your object. And I love doing this. You know what I haven't done yet? I haven't really tested this with another object, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, again, we can customize this. So right here, right, if we drag our group input down here for a minute, instead of selecting the thing we want for our object effector, we can allow other people to do that. So right here, let's go to our node group here. This second one is going to be the effector, and the other one's going to be the particle field. Okay. Let me check the comments real quick. Can this be adjusted to mimic dynamic paint in GeoNodes? I don't see why not. I don't see why not. I mean, that's a great idea too. Let's go ahead and add a cube in here, and let's see if the cube is, we're able to use the cube as an effector. And look at that, we are. Now it's a little different, right? Because you can see, like, you can kind of see the outline of where the cube is. Like, I love when the points kind of roll off the cube. So like what I would do in this case is I would bevel the cube a little bit, give it some smoother edges, right? I'll shade it smooth too, just because why not? There we go. When you give this the smoother edges, you can kind of see how things flow a little bit nicer around the cube, right? Again, you don't have to do this, but you can see how that works, right? This is really fun. Now, again, just huge shout out to the guy that found this, how to make this work online, because I don't know that I fully understand how it works. All I know is that in the simulation, if we look here, we are taking the original position and we're comparing like where the cube is or any object we want to that original position. And if it's near it, we kind of snap it to the normals. If not, we go back to that original position. So this really right here is checking where the points are, but it's also saying, hey, take that result and make those points basically go near the surface. But you can see this gap here. Don't forget, we can adjust that gap right here where the scale is, and we can have the user adjust it too. So instead of calling it scale, we'll just say gap. And right now it's 1.1. We can do like 1.02, which is really close. And if you really want to, you can like zoom in. We can do like 1.07. No, let's try 1.09. Oh, that shouldn't be more. It should be 1.03. Let's try that. Oh, so close. You can see that you can literally fine tune this, and now you have something. You have to wait till it plays back around. You have something that looks pretty realistic, and I'm pretty happy with like how this turned out. Again, I'm not gonna claim that I'm the inventor of this, but I don't think it's been done like this before. Like, I think that guy found a great solution, but not a potential application for what you can actually do with it. Like, this is, in my opinion, what it could be used for, which is this right here. Again, you can animate this. Like, I can go back to frame 1, insert a keyframe, go to frame 60, move this all the way over. Oopsies, don't delete. Insert another keyframe. Now we have something that looks like this. And just imagine the possibilities with a logo or topography, just like a really cool object that you want to make it look like it's disintegrating and coming back into play here. This file is already available. Here, I'm just going to drop the link. It's for free. I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat real quick. It's available completely for free there, and I'll make sure that I put it on. I'll get CG Cookie to put it up on their website as well. Hey Kenny, can you please give me a shout out? Yes, Gopi Putra Karan. Shout out to you, my friend. Thumbs up in the chat if this is super cool and we should continue to customize this. Just give me like a thumbs up or say yes, keep going, because I think so far, how long have we been streaming for? Let me double check real quick. We've been streaming for, why won't it tell me? For quite some time. I don't know why it's not telling me like how long we've been streaming for, but let's go ahead and let's add a shader to this, because I'll show you guys like a really cool way to add a shader to this so you can make it look like it did in the original version. This can be applied to VFX. It looks amazing. Keep going. Okay, cool. Again, don't forget, one thing to remember, you are affecting the X, Y, and the Z. If you only wanted to affect the X and the Y component, because I had an example where I wanted to do that earlier. If you only want to affect the X and the Y component, right here with your comparison node or your switch node, you can separate the X, Y, Z right here. Just move this stuff. You can separate the X, Y, Z. Let me move this too. And then you can say combine X, Y, Z, right? But you only have to combine the ones that you want to be affected. So right now, you'll notice it's not working at all, but hold on, let me just set this to 1. Let me raise this up a little bit. There we go. So you can notice how I can determine exactly where this thing is, but it's only affecting the X and the Y. Let me show what happened if you only affected the Y. Hold on. So notice how everything gets collapsed. You don't want that. So honestly, this is probably the only thing that would work. I don't know what would happen if you only plug the Z in and you made these 1 and 1. They all get collapsed. But if you only want to affect the X and the Y, it does work. And you can see it flattens everything, which is kind of cool because if you don't want your logo to look like it has that 3rd dimension, you don't have to, which is super awesome. All right, now what did I say I was going to do next? I think I said we were going to customize this some more. All right, let's do the shader next for this. I'm going to go into the shading tab, give this a quick save. We'll go to rendered view and I'll just add in, I'm just going to add in another cube so we can give this a shader. I'll call this material link, just so we know that that's the one we're going to link. I'll just make it pink so we can tell if it's working in Geometry Nodes. We'll go back to Geometry Nodes, all the way to the right where the group output is. We'll use a set material node, and we will select the linked material. And there it is. And it's that simple. But I want this to be even cooler. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this like a really interesting shader. And I just think it would look really cool if this was an emissive shader. So we're going to use an emission shader. And we're going to actually use a mixed shader too. We're going to mix 2 different colors of an emission here. I'll do like, just for this example, I'll do a light blue and I'll do like a purple so I can show you how this is going to work. We're going to use a layer weight. And we're going to use, I think I used Fresnel in the last example, or Fresnel, whatever, however the heck you say it. We're going to use some object info node, and I think I just plugged in the random to the normal here. Yeah, and it just, for some reason, works really well, and it gives you a random color for each one of these, kind of. That's pretty good. I'm not sure exactly how this works, and I don't remember, let's see how I did this before. Oh, I had a color ramp too, sorry. I had a color ramp right here. And let me just scale everything up. There we go. Okay, I had a color ramp, and I believe I crunched it like something like this. I don't remember if it, which one did I use? It might have been this one. Let's see. That looks pretty cool. Let's see how the blending mode affects it. I think that looks nice. Again, you don't have to go with these colors. You could go with like a nice like green, or you could, let me just see what works well. Let's try. That looks cool. All right, we'll do that. All right, so we have our emission. Now let's go ahead and let's change our world background color to black. Let's go to compositing. We'll pull up the 3D viewport down here. Now, you do need a camera to see real-time compositing. So I'll add a camera. I will reset the camera's position to 0 on all things. I'll bring it up, snap to the camera, and let's just go ahead and enable use nodes in the compositor. And I am going to also enable the, where is it? Oh, we're not in rendered view. In rendered view, you can go to compositor camera, so you can see everything happening in real time. And if we just add a glare node, if I can spell glare, we add a glare node, you should be able to see this happening right away. We'll go to fog glow, and is it working? Maybe my emission's not high enough. Do we have any fog glow here? I'm looking. Doesn't want to work. Why? Camera, are we in our camera? We are in our camera. Should be getting some fog glow. I'm not sure why it's not showing up. Weird. Usually you don't have to render, you used to have to render a frame and it would just show up, but it doesn't want to show up for me right now. How did you scale the nodes? Oh, this is really cool. I learned this trick. If you click on your, where's my shader? If you highlight everything with A, you can literally press S and you can scale them in and out. How awesome is that? Yeah, it just works with S, and Shift D also works with these. All the shortcuts work with the nodes too, which is super awesome. And you can also turn on snapping so that they snap to the grid, which is cool. I don't usually do that, but maybe we'll do a little node cleanup at the end. I'm not sure why my compositor's not wanting to do, like, what? I don't know. I don't know why it's not working, but it's just not. It should be. Weird. Okay. I don't know. Like, what's up, bro? Why are you doing this? There's always like one thing I'm missing, but that's life, I guess. I don't know. All right, either way, I'm pretty happy with the result. All right, so what did I say I was gonna do next? Oh yeah, let's clean up the nodes a little bit. You guys down with that? Let's do that. Because I think at the end of the day, you should be proud of your work, right? And you should be proud of like the nodes that you have. Looks cool. Oh, we also got a shade smooth. Set shade smooth. There we go. Now they're nice and smooth. And remember, if you want greater definition, all you have to do is go back to your instancer right here, and you can just change it right here. Like you could do, this computer can handle it. So I could do 20 by 20. And now you can see they're nice and smooth. But that's up to you guys. You know, you do your thing. All right. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all this. This is going to be my switch. Hold on. I'm going to call this right here. I'm going to join these, and I'm just going to call this choices. Make it simple. This is going to be our instancer here. Instancer. Okay, and then these right here, this is going to be store original position. Store original position. Okay. Just make those nice and lined up. This is the original position. This is the comparison. This is the randomizer for the speed. Let's go ahead and just go into full view here. Let's collapse this a little bit. This right here is just sampling nearest, so I'll join that. Sample nearest. This is the object effector. And this specifically, I don't know if you guys know this, you can rename nodes. So if I go here, I can rename this, and I can just say like scaling fix. And look, now it's labeled as whatever I want. Isn't that nice? Check to see if the points are near. Good to go on that. Just leave that as is there. See what we have so far. Nice. It's looking a lot better, right? See, like, I like doing this too for me so that when I go back, I know exactly what's happening and why. This right here, actually, all of these right here, this is our noise. Noise idle is what I'll call it. And this right here, I'll join this anyway. I'll just say this is the push effect so that we know what it does. And then quite simply here, I'll just say finalize because this is being finalized. It's applying the materials and we're done. That's the end of the simulation. And I think that's it. What else are we missing? Everything seems pretty organized. Now, if you really want to, you can go crazy and you can color code it all too. Yeah, I know there is probably some shortcuts I could probably learn for sure. Can you modify the nodes so that the particles don't overlap with each other? Yes, probably. That might be something for a later date. Let me just see how long I've been live streaming here. Does it say? I've been live streaming for 45 minutes. Okay, that's good. We have about 15 more minutes. So what you could do here, guys, is if you want to, like the initializers, like you could go in here and you could change the color. And I don't normally do this because, you know what would be really useful is like some preset colors here. What do you guys think? I feel like some preset colors here would be, excuse me, really, really nice. Like just like some simple one, like a simple little palette that you could use. Now, yes, you can hover over this, copy it, paste it, whatever, right? That's fine. So like the randomizer and the noise, like I feel like they're the same category, but these things right here, like should all be red. Like these, 1, 2, 3. I don't know if it'll let me change all the colors at once. No, it won't. But these should be like orange or red. I don't mind that color. That maybe like a little bit. That's good. That's good. More like a pastel kind of color. Again, you don't have to do this. I'm just doing it because I feel like it's important to realize like what's related to what. Like these are all related. I would say this is related to those. This is like all the beginning phases. These are related. this is also related to like the physics, and I think this is related to the physics. This right here, though, I guess it's also the physics too. Yeah, you know what? Does that make sense? Am I crazy? I feel like that's a good way to like organize it. And then for the finalizer, I think you probably know what color I'm going to make that. Probably like a nice little green. And done. And this one could even be the, actually this one, it might even make sense to make it yellow. Just because, let's see, I'll do like a darker yellow. Because that's like the real beginning, right? Really, this could go in here. That's fine. This is really the beginning. Then you instance, randomized, object effector. Now that is what I call a nice and organized node group. And if you want to consolidate everything even more, what I would say is you could probably hide a few of these. Like, actually, we don't even really need these nodes anymore. So I'm going to delete these. And look at that. Nice. And we can consolidate more. I like to have, like, space in everything, like some breathing room. But to be honest with you guys, I also like everything to be collapsed so I can really see, like, what I've done here. And some of these you can collapse them even further. So like you could hide this, right? You don't have to. There are some nodes I feel are worth seeing though. Like you should know like what these nodes are doing. This looks great though. I feel pretty good about like how we clean this up. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like 10 out of 10? Thoughts on the node cleanup? We could probably like rename things to make them make more sense. Let me just give this a quick save. I'm out of coffee. Yeah, that would be, I feel like that would be useful is like a preset color swatch panel so that we can choose the colors that we want for each individual frame. I think that would be really useful. Yeah, this is cool. Another thing, there's so many things you can do with this. Let me show you guys something else we can do with this. This is going to be like, you're actually going to be super surprised when you see this. Are you ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Let me X out of this real quick. Let me copy and paste this and call this. Oh, I didn't mean to open it. That's fine. All right, so this is the copy of the file that we just had. So what I want to show you guys, this is going to be a cool one. I think you're really going to like this. All right, so right now we know that we can move the particles, right? But what if we did the opposite? What if, hear me out, what if we used a particle field, right? But instead of moving, we'll have to reset this. Instead of moving the object across the particles, what if we move the particles across the object? You're probably thinking, well, that sounds stupid, but just wait. This is really cool. All right, so remember, we have our set position node. Do you remember earlier we were talking, and if you adjust this x value, you can push something? So watch this, -0.1. So if I put -0.1 and I press play, you guys see what's happening? It's kind of getting pushed to the left. It's only getting pushed to the left once, but we're going to put this in a repeat zone. You guys are going to be like, this is cool. Just wait till you see this. Let me make some room here. Okay, so this is our repeat zone. Oh my God. There we go. All right, so we want to repeat something here, and I'll show you what that is. We want to do something like this, where we have a repeat zone, and we want to repeatedly reset the position, right? So now, right now, it's only happening one iteration. But if we set this to scene time, oh my God, if that pops up one more time, scene time, and we plug in the frame count. Whoa, wait a second. Where's it going? Notice how it's moving now? So I'm going to get rid of the noise because I don't want that anymore. So we're going to get rid of the noise. And we're just going to have the push effect. Now watch this. Let it reset. Okay. Why is there still noise? There should be no noise left. It's being weird, but hold on. Cube, yeah, gap 1. Let's try to reset it. All right, there we go. All right, so now all we have to do is that we're going to actually make an aerodynamic simulation out of this. This is going to be really cool. For the X size, I'll do 20. Now watch what happens. I'm going to go to my top-down view here. Now, you're probably noticing what's starting to happen here, right? I don't know why the noise is still a part of this, so let me just figure that out real quick. Why in the world? It's being weird. Hold on. There we go. It's a little bit better. All right, we're going to adjust the timing. Let's watch. There we go. All right, does everybody see what's happening now? This is going to be a cool one. So we have to adjust a few settings, but you can probably start to see what's happening here, right? Let's go a little bit slower, right? Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Anybody seeing what I'm seeing? See, look at the particles and the way that they're moving. So let's go ahead and adjust the particle count. Does everybody see that? This is where we're starting to get into something really interesting here. And now for the, oops, I typed in the wrong amount. Do 200 by 200. So everybody see how we're starting to get like sort of some type of like aerodynamics here. Now it's not necessarily real physics, but it's good enough for the simulation. So right here where we have the X amount, I'll change that to 0.05 and that'll kind of slow it down a little bit. Does everybody see what's going on here now? How cool is that? And then we can adjust our gap and do like 1.3. And now look at this. Is everybody seeing that? Now we can go over here to the size of our grid. Let's do 50, okay? Now we have a little bit of a longer simulation. So really what we're doing is we're moving the points across our object. But what I like about this, because I've tried to do this before, what I like about this, even though we're getting some weird lines here, notice how like we kind of get that narrowing effect, which is what you would, really what you would want and what you would expect here. You kind of get that narrowed effect. Let's try 500 on the Y. Whoo! Kind of intense. Might be a little bit too fast. Let's slow it down some. Let's try negative 0.02. There we go. That's a little bit better. I don't know why, but this like line is still kind of hanging back and it shouldn't be. Let's try this with a sphere instead. Let's get rid of the effector as the cube. We'll try the sphere. Where is the sphere? Bring it down here. Let's go back. Okay, there we go. Let's bring this down more, scale it up a little bit. There we go. That's more like it. Isn't that cool? I feel like, again, like this code that we found, or this like setup of nodes, is really useful for like anything that you want to use it for. You just have to figure out how to reverse engineer it and figure out what's doing what part. But how cool is it that we can now simulate aerodynamics sort of with this? I don't know. I find it very cool. Again, with the X and the Y, go back to this example again with the comparison node, or sorry, the switch node. Separate X, Y, Z. Combine X, Y, Z. Get rid of the Z. Just do X and Y. Let's go back. And now we're only affecting the X and the Y. So if you look, it's really thin. Okay. Very cool. And yes, it works in real time. Well, I guess not real time, but real enough. What do you guys think? Pretty cool, huh? Thanks a lot for the tutorial. It really helped. What if the cube rotates? Can you get some of the particle to follow, leaving a trail behind? I don't know. Well, let's try, here, let's try this. Let me hide this. We'll bring the cube back. Where's the cube? Here's the cube. So you want the cube to rotate, like you want me to animate it? Let's try it. I haven't tried it yet. Let's insert a keyframe. We'll go to like frame 24, rotate it a bit, and then we just have to select that as our effector. There it is. So you can kind of see, that's interesting. That's what it looks like. It's a little glitchy, but it's still cool. Like, It's almost like physics. I do wonder, is something happening here that could be tied into like a physics simulation, even though it's not really real physics. There's no velocity being stored, there's no acceleration or friction or energy loss or anything like that. But it is pretty cool. I don't know if that's what you meant, Ravanin, but this one was a cool one. I enjoyed this tutorial a lot. That pretty much more or less kind of wraps it up. At this point, guys, I'm super happy with how it turned out. Again, you guys can check it out on my Gumroad page. I think I linked it. I'll link it one more time. But I'll also make sure that I will make sure. What did I do? Gumroad.com. Make sure CG Cookie gets it. All right, there's the link for you guys if you're looking to download the free file. I just put it up on Gumroad. But have fun with it. Like, put a logo in there. Do whatever you guys want. Like, there's so much you can do with this. How cool is that? So awesome. Let me go back to the other one because the other one's really cool too. This was the original. This one was like the OG, right? Like, and I found this model of a head just like, I think it was just on, what was it? CG Trader, I think. Something like that. So cool though. Like, there's just so much you could do with this. And this is like barely scraping the surface of what's possible. Another thing you could do, I don't know how well this would work or if this would work, but I think you could change the scale. You could probably change the scale of the particles based on the proximity of the sphere, or you could change the scale of the particles like every frame they could be like rotating in and out. That is so smooth. Oh, if you really want it to be smooth, you go ahead and go to frame rate. Make sure it's on 60 frames a second. I'll show you what 30 frames a second looks like. I didn't realize I've been on 60 this whole time. That's 30 frames a second. Still looks good. And actually it looks much slower and like more dynamic. But if you're looking for something super smooth, like buttery smooth, 60 frames a second is the way to go. Here's a nice little side view for you. Again, you see it's working on the X, Y, and the Z, right? So, and look at the little, like, look at the idling. It's so much fun. Like, imagine what you could do. I mean, this could be like an outer space scene. How fun is that? I don't know. I find this stuff awesome. I love this stuff. And I used to be so intimidated by geometry nodes, and then I just started messing around with it. Let's see. Okay, Kenny, good night. Yep, good night. Any questions, guys, on this tutorial or anything else you would like to see before I log off? Because I do have a few things going on today, so I am going to be done with this shortly. Also, if you're interested, on my actual YouTube channel, I have a full tutorial on this like topic where I didn't mess up. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out on my Kenny Phases YouTube channel. Other than that, though, I think this was a successful live stream. Like, this was just so much fun. How awesome is that? It's like all the particles. So much fun. Whoa, look at that angle. That's a cool angle right there. You could, so like now when you look at it from a different angle, not just metaphorically speaking, but you can kind of see how there's like a force field around this object. You could make a force field animation where there's like an energy blast, but it's deflected on this planet or this sphere, and all these particles can't get through the energy field. I'm just saying, like, there's so many things you could do with this. I don't even really know where I would begin. But now that you have like the foundation and you have the file, you should be able to like create some really cool stuff with this. I'm also thinking that you could like use another object, like instead of particles, you could use like fruit. Like I said in my original tutorial, you could use fruit. You could use like cards, you know, like playing cards. I mean, there's so many things. Maybe you have a brand that has like a specific object or a mascot that represents their brand. You could use that. You could have like a really nice macro effect. Let me just try one more thing while you guys are here. Let me add a camera to this. Let's just like make sure I can see what's going on here. Yeah, here we go. So like, let's say you had a camera right here. Let me just back the camera up a bunch. There we go. All right, so let's just say, theoretically, you had a camera, and then you want this really nice, like, dynamic effect where you're focused on the sphere, but you have a super low depth of field. Let's go to depth of field here. You have, like, a super, super low depth of field, like this, right? Like, how cool could that be? Let's lower it even more, 0.2. How interesting would that be? And let me make the sphere metallic, slightly metallic, and maybe make it blue. Again, just like look at the results that you can get very quickly with more or less minimal setup. All right, now I got to do it. We got to add an HDRI. Let's see if I have one that's a little darker. That one's pretty cool. Let me try one that's like, oh, is that the same? I just clicked on the same one. Now I'm looking for, actually, I didn't mind that one. I didn't mind that one. Let's go back to it. Again, just like trying to show you guys like how cool some of this stuff could be. Let me take the camera and let's zoom out a little bit. Right? And then did I have a plane? I did have a plane. Let me scale the plane up a bit. Let's make the plane darker. Again, like you could do something with like a logo animation. I don't know. How cool is it that you can get this really cool like sense of like depth of field here? It just looks awesome. And you can play around with the colors and make everything match up. That looks cool. Kenny the Goat, make more tutorials on geometry nodes. Again, it's so funny. I didn't even like I was like not terrified of geometry nodes, but I was like, man, these guys like, because I remember when they came out with geometry nodes, everyone was on board so quick, and I wondered how the heck did everyone figure this out so quick? It was so new, and I was like so discouraged because I genuinely wondered how do you figure something out that's brand new that you've never done anything with before? Because for me, I like to rely on tutorials to learn new things, and then I learn how to make my own tutorials. But how do you know, how do you know what a node does unless you experiment with it? But even then, you still have to know how they interact. So I guess a lot of people relied on their shader knowledge first, and then they transferred that over into geometry nodes. But for me, it was so intimidating when I first started. So thank God I've like taken the leap and tried to like actually do all this. For real-time composition, enable always button in render. Okay. Did you share the link yet? Yeah, guys, the link, oh, for the file, guys, the link is kennyphases.gumroad.com. Hold on, kennyphases.gumroad.com. That's the link right there. It's my Gumroad page. It should be up on there. If it's not, let me know. I'm pretty sure it is though. Let me do this. I want to do this glare node now though, because I'm kind of angry that it didn't work earlier. Glare. Okay, we're gonna do glare. Now let's see if always works. Oh, did I do always? There we go. All right, fog glow. Fog glow. Kennyfaces.gumroad.com. Why isn't it working still? Am I crazy? Maybe is there a chance the emission strength isn't high enough? Is this the emission? It is. Strength is 1. Set it to 2. Ah, the emission strength wasn't high enough. Oh, that's so frustrating. But it makes sense. Whoa, that's cool. Let's look at bloom. So bloom is its own thing now? I did not know that. I don't mind. The fog glow looks good. Let me compare it to bloom. Bloom's pretty good too. It's a little bit intense. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we're talking here. Guys, there we go. Now we got our bloom and all. Now, there is another thing you could do with you could do another thing with these shaders. Let me try one more thing. Because now I'm like, do I just try it, see what we can come up with? Is this it? Yeah, okay, so let me get this sphere. Where is the sphere at? There it is. Okay, so this is the sphere, and I want to try something because now I'm thinking I really want this look, I want there to be like a rim of light around each sphere. I want to use this. See if I can accomplish that. Oopsies. Okay, color ramp. First, okay, so there we go. That's it. So everybody see what I'm doing here? But I need it to be bigger. Oh man, this is why I love Blender. But look at that. So now when we look around this sphere, it's just got this very faint halo effect. And now if we look back on these, look how much cooler. I mean, again, my opinion, I think they look cool. I don't know. They look like little orbs now. They look like you could, instead of transparent, you could do glass. I don't know if this is going to break Blender, but let's try it. Yeah, that looks freaking cool. What do you guys think? I feel like that looks so cool. You could bump this up even more. You'd want, let me just check. So this is the shader right here. So you can control the amount, the orb, like where the orb's line is. There we go. That's kind of what I was looking for. Kind of like that subtle, you know. You could also you could mix the glass with a transparent shader. So you could be like, let me do a transparent BSDF like that. And now you can decide how transparent you want it. Maybe you want it to be just ever so slightly glossy, maybe like 0.8, right? But then you also have, the glass part of it, but then you also have like this other part too. So let me hide that. Let me go here. Let me zoom in. And let me adjust the focus a little bit. That looks cool. Look at how fun this is. I don't know. I'm having a blast. And then if you really want to go crazy with it, there's your bloom, right? But then you can also do motion blur. So let's play this back real quick. Remember when I said I was done? No one's ever really done, right? Let's try motion blur, and let's just try to render a frame here. I'm just gonna do 25 samples with denoising. I'm gonna make sure these are set off. There we go. Let's see if I got all my render settings correct, because Lord knows I never do. Oh, look at the motion blur. Wow, look at that. How cool is that? And it's done. Where's the compositing? Did it add the glare? Did I not set up my nodes properly? No, I thought I did. You did grab the file? Okay, good. Here's what it looks like. Pretty cool. I don't know, I like it. I guess, you know, for the floor, at the end of the day, I guess I should choose something that's got like some kind of color to it. That looks kind of cool, because then we got this like kind of glare effect on there. Wow. Very fun. Very fun stuff. Look at that. I'm digging it. I don't know. I'm trying to wonder what it would look like from a top-down perspective here. Should we try it? Top-down perspective with the camera. Where's our camera at? Mr. Camera, where are you? There we go. All right, so there's our camera. And we got to bring our camera above the scene. There we go. And bring it up a little bit. That looks cool. See, again, like, I think about this stuff all the time, like, just with a few, like, small details, there's so much you can do with this. I don't know, like, imagine putting a client's logo in there and being like, yeah, like, I can make your logo look like this, or I can do this with your logo, or I can take your whole website and put it on here. Like, you could probably take an image, split it up into instances based on the color data of the pixels, and you could probably do something similar to this. What I love about this, because I know everybody's all about ChatGPT and the image generation and AI and stuff, but I just love being able to go back to like the basics of figuring stuff out and having fun with it. You know what I mean? Like, whatever happened to just like being creative and having fun? Like, I love this stuff. I love making mistakes and figuring out the solutions to those mistakes. And AI is great. There's some great places that you can use AI and great applications for AI, but overall, like, you can still be creative without it. And I'd rather, me personally, I don't know, maybe it's not okay to always get it right on the first try. Like, it's okay to break things and make mistakes. That's what makes you human, and that's what makes you an artist. But I love this stuff because I like coding too, so I enjoy like the magic behind trying to figure out how the nodes all work with each other. Because at the end of the day, this was actually our old setup. This isn't the one we organized. But at the end of the day, like, this probably looks like a big mess, but when you break it down and you explain it in steps, like, it makes sense how it works, and it'll give you more ideas. Like, after I saw how to make this on that forum, my mind just went, like, this is what happened to my mind right here. I was like, what? It created this like void of like new imagination, a good void. And then everything got pieced back together, and I said I got to make a tutorial on this. And now here we are. So cool. Just so cool. And again, like, what's really fun about this shader this like quote unquote shader that I made is you can use nodes for that too. And this is all procedural. So all you really need is a 3D model or some way to use the grid. Here, let's see. Let me just try to swap this out. Do I have the grid on here still? I think I do. This is the grid. Same effect. And look how easy it was to swap out the grid for the model, right? Pretty easy. Do you use AI for creative ideas? Like, what could be your next project for inspiration? Yeah, I do actually. And that's the thing is, like, for me, well, and I've had help with like Blender projects, of course, you know, nobody's perfect, but for AI, what I'll do is I'll be like, hey, like, based on my last projects, or I'll give it my Gumroad page. I'll be like, read all the stuff on my Gumroad page, and now I want you to tell me what would be, based on my top sellers, what would be a product that I could sell next that would do really well. And then based on that, let's see, what's B? Based on that, it'll give me an idea of what I could make. And at the end of the day, it's pretty good. So cool. I love it. I love it. Yeah, at the end of the day, it always gives me good ideas. Like, I'll probably take this and I will probably make a like pro version of this and sell it, but it has to be like useful. Like, it has to be something someone would use it for. For example, you just place your logo into like an image slot over here, and it creates this effect for you. Because a lot of people, they use Blender, but they want a minimal setup like workflow. Like, they just want to plop colors in or their logo and just hit render. Like, many people don't use Blender the way that I use it. They use it to just do really quick like one-off projects, and then because of that, when you design a product that you want to sell on like Gumroad or Blender Market, well, now Superhive, you have to think ahead about what someone would buy and save them the time and the effort, because they have the creativity. They just don't feel like setting all this crap up. Like, they want, like, this right here. I guarantee you people are going to watch this like when it gets posted after the live is done, and here's what they're going to do. They're going to skip ahead. They're going to look through the video just to find these nodes, because a lot of people just want the nodes, or if they realize there's a setup, they can just download the file. They're going to go download the file. Many people will probably not watch this and follow the entire tutorial, which is totally fine. And I don't expect them to. And that's why a lot of the products that I sell are like super successful, is because you're sort of targeting lazy people, but at the end of the day, they're not lazy. They just want to save time just like you do. And they want to buy your product because they don't feel like making your product. It's already built. They just want to buy it and they want to use it. They don't feel like reverse engineering it or copying all the nodes, right? Because when I was looking at that forum, it took me a good like 15 minutes to an hour to probably like piece all this together to actually make it work. But it was worth it, because now I have a tutorial out of it. I have a free product, and eventually that will lead to like more customers, which is great. But again, it's just like fun to share the knowledge on this stuff. but everyone's got a goal at the end of the day. Most people's goal is to make a living out of it. That's my goal too. But I can also share. The thing is, there's no harm in sharing the free knowledge, because now you know how to make it too, and you can make it into your own product, right? But you may not have the same vision as I have. That's why I use ChatGPT a lot, is because I like to get good ideas, and if I can't come up with an idea, I don't mind if the computer does it. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to execute on the idea like I am. Again, that's not me bragging. That's just me. I've given ChatGPT Blender files. It is not able to simulate a Blender file in its own environment. And until it can do that, I don't foresee it replacing like Blender Artist very soon, especially because when you consider a lot of the stuff that we do, like making like game ready assets and things like that, like ChatGPT doesn't understand how that works yet. It will eventually, I'm sure. But right now, you still need things to be customized enough so that it works as a product, right? So I don't know, it's just something to think about. I just try to push Blender limits. I want to learn so much more. I just wait for the day when Blender becomes industry standard. Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing, is like all the updates they're pushing out in like geometry nodes and stuff like this, like at the end of the day, it's slowly becoming better and better. For me, it is my industry standard. Like, this is all I know. Like, if you gave me any other tool, I'd be like, sorry, not using it. Like, this is what I use. This is all I use. You know what else I just noticed and I just thought about, because you guys just made me think about it? I wonder if you put a logo here where the sphere is instead of the sphere. I'm wondering what would happen. Let me try something real quick. Let's hide this. Sorry, hide this. Now you just gave me an idea, guys. Let's put the Blender logo. I just want to see if you put the Blender logo in here, it should react the same way. Oh, what the heck? Oh, I selected the wrong crap. I meant to select this. Then I forgot this is in our customized version. That's my fault. You have to go back here and select the logo. There we go. So now this should work. Is it working? I can't tell. Is it working? I don't think it is. I feel like it is working, but not the way that I expected it to. Oh, you can kind of see it's working a little bit. Darn, I thought that was going to be really cool. That could have been really interesting. Why doesn't it want to work the same way, though? Let me try that. Oh, you can kind of see the logo a little bit. Does everybody see it? You can kind of see it a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It's there. You can see it right here a little bit. Just ever so slightly. I guess it is working. It's just there's too much noise in the simulation for it to stay consistent. That's pretty cool. But that's another way you could use it. Oh, that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, you can see the logo right there. That's awesome. On an economics level, did AI help you for your sales? You gain more customers with AI. It's working, but the logo is not animated. Yes, that's correct. So yeah, I think AI did help me on an economic level. It definitely helped me more than it hurt me, because what I'll have it do now is I'll just tell it, hey, remember that Gumroad project we worked on? Or hey, remember that Blender marketing campaign we did? Do it again, but for this product. So I'll just have it do like the dumb stuff that I don't feel like doing. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's just because I know that if I can save time on those pesky little things, then I can put out more products at a higher quality and at a faster rate, which at the end of the day is going to make me more money. So it's not always about the money, but if you're selling stuff online, you want to be as efficient as possible. The more products you have, the more likely you're going to make more money, just because you're more likely to find someone who's going to buy your product. Simple economics, but ChatGPT saves me time on like stupid stuff. All right, let's see. Where's the one we had? There we go. This is the one. Oh yeah, this is the one where we did the particle push. So by the way, this exact file is not the one you're getting on Gumroad. This is just the one we did on the tutorial, but the one on Gumroad is just as good. So, all right, what else can we do here? I think, guys, I think that's everything. This is the original. Oh, by the way, this is the original file. So much fun. I just love it. It's so stupid. Like, oh, and that's the other thing is, like, someone asked me earlier, like, do I ask ChatGPT for ideas? This idea specifically, I didn't ask it for, but I just found it on that website. But, like, look how much fun. And if you zoom in, like, you can see the particles, they're moving, right? They're idling. We kind of just, whoop. So cool. Like, something like this, you would think, well, one, you would have to spend money on it, but two, you would think there's, like, it's so complicated to make this, but it really isn't. If you look at the nodes that guy used, like, it's really not that complicated. It's just tough to break it down because when you add a lot of vector math nodes, it starts to look really tricky. And you have to, like, follow the path of the logic in the nodes. Like, what is affecting what and why is it affecting that? But once you understand, like, what the basic nodes do, like the switch node, that was what tripped me up on this one. Is if you look, where's the switch node at? Here it is. If you look at the switch node here, you're probably thinking, well, it's going to use one thing or the other. Let's like analyze it real quick. So this frame, or this joined frame right here, will move points to the original position. This one just checks to see where they are. And here's what's interesting. The switch input is either true or it's not. Or, like, I'm sorry, it's either checked or it's not. So right here, checking if the points are inside the object or close to the object, they either are or they are not. If they are near the object, you sample the nearest surface and you pass that position onto each point. If they're not near the object, you move those points back to the original position. So, right, there's two conditions, right? It's kind of like an if statement a little bit, right? If it's the first thing, you pass that on to the set position and you say, go back to your original spot, please. If not, you check to see if they're inside the object. If they are, you make sure that their position is on the nearest surface point, right? Which is what we're sampling. You pass that vector onto the position. So really what's happening is multiple vectors are being pushed out to all the points at once. And because of that, they all can individually update because we have, let me go back, because we have stored the original attribute, which is original P or original position. But if we didn't store that, there would be no way to reference it in the future, which is where we're referencing it right here. And since we're referencing it right here and it's fed into the simulation, it needs to have its own, like, variable, which is right there. So really, if you look at it, because I don't even think I fully understood it until I just explained it right now, you can, like, break it down step by step. And we already know instancing on points, right? We know that this can be any object. It doesn't matter. We're just throwing a bunch of points onto it. And where any point is, we're putting a sphere, and that's that. And then we feed it into the simulation. And then the simulation, there's really nothing in it. In fact, everything's really happening outside the simulation. We're just feeding real-time data into the simulation every frame when it updates. We're feeding that simulation, or sorry, the external data that's always happening all the time when you press play into the set position node. And then I don't know why they put this on the group output. Like, I'm not sure why there's a vector there. I don't know why they did that. That's weird. I don't even know how they did that, but they did. But ignore that. That doesn't really. They're not even using that input, so I'm not sure what they did with that. Yeah, this is probably the hardest part to understand because dot product is like. Let's just look it up because I don't know what the heck it does, but we'll look real quick. Dot. What is dot product? Yeah, tell me, what the heck is dot product? Here it is, product. Dot product. The dot product of A and B. Let's see if I can wrap my monkey brain around this. Can you let me highlight? My monkey brain can't even highlight. All right, dot product of A and B. AX times BX plus AY times BY plus AZ times BZ. Yep. Nope, I don't understand it. Let me just see something. Let's see if this guy answered it. All right. The dot product of two vectors is the sum of multiplication of pairs of corresponding elements from both vectors. The velocity data reflects this. Oh, okay. Okay, this kind of makes sense here a little bit. When you calculate a dot product of the velocity, you cancel out the negative values. So it's a quick way to convert the velocity gradient over all particles. Velocity dot product with itself. Huh. It kind of, in a way, sounds like it's averaging something out. We could be more closer to the fluid sim in GeoNodes. Well, actually, the fluid sim has already been solved. Someone has created an actual fluid simulation in Geometry Nodes. It's been done multiple times, actually. What about fluid sim converted to particles? Yeah, that's possible. All right, we'll do one last thing. How long have we been streaming for? Let me just check. All right, this is the final thing that we will do, because I actually have to go after this. What time is it? Oh my god, I've been streaming for so long. All right, this is the absolute final thing that we will do. And then, oh my god, I think I just clicked don't save. That's okay. We can always make it again. I can go back to my own tutorial. Okay, add a cube, object, quick effects, quick liquid. There it is. There's our quick liquid. And someone said, can we convert that to points? We sure can. Just click on the liquid domain, make a new geometry node setup, mesh to points, and there it is. It's really that simple. And then you can instance on the points. You could do like a cube or whatever you want, really. I'll just scale this down. Are they there? There they are. All right, so why are they stretched? They shouldn't be. Object, apply, scale. There we go. That's why you always apply your scale. There we go. All right, so we have a physics simulation that is fluid. It's actually pretty cool looking. It's kind of like voxely. This would be like if you took the modifier and you just remeshed it with cubes. Let's make them a little bit smaller. There we go. So now this is like true voxel. It's really not true voxel, but like, remember, each point isn't like directly necessarily connected to a voxel, but, or not a voxel, I'm sorry, up to the simulation point. Did I just freeze Blender? I don't know if I did. Just go to 120. There we go. Okay, so here's the simulation. So really it's just like, it's just fluid, and then you just instance points onto the fluid. It looks pretty cool. Want to see something really cool that you can do? And this will be the actual last thing we do, even though I could stream this for a million hours. Instead of instancing on the points, you can actually do points to curves. And now you have points to curves, but here's where it gets fun. You can do spline type, and we'll set that, instead of poly, right, we'll do Bezier, and we'll do handle type, left and right. And now you have this squiggly line, and you can do curve to mesh. And then you can simply do circle, curve for the profile. Oopsies. And you set it to 0.0 or 0.5. Now if you press play, you get this really weird, like, curved, I don't know what. Weird, right? It's pretty cool, though. And you can also resample the curve right here, and you can like decide like how intense you want it to be. Kind of silly. This one doesn't really look like that realistic, but you get the idea. Will Blender have a good simulation engine? I have no idea, my friend. But this has been really fun. Guys, I am going to hop offline. I feel like we got so much out of this live stream. This was so much fun. Sorry about the hiccups in the beginning, but you know, that's kind of what it takes to come up with stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we make mistakes. We're human. Let's keep making mistakes. Let's keep experimenting. Let's have fun with it, right? I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your weekend. I've got a few things planned, so should be a fun weekend. But I'm looking to live stream hopefully this coming next week, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the tutorial, drop them down below. Don't forget to subscribe to CG Cookie. And if you want the file, it's on my Gumroad page. You're more than welcome to check it out. And I will also make sure I send it to CG Cookie so they can throw it up on their website. Any questions, guys, before we head out? I think that just about covers everything. We had some really cool, fun stuff that we worked on here. Very fun stuff. This is just the recap of what we learned. Oops. Or not. There we go. This is recap of what we did today. Pretty much, more or less. I mean, again, it's up to you guys, the settings that you want to choose, but this is what we did. So much fun, and I learned a lot. Have a great weekend. Always a pleasure to watch your tutorial. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next live stream. Have a good day.